High Vibe Nation is live. Welcome to the High Vibe Nation, where we have set out to raise the vibration of every human being on the planet. Your hosts on this journey are Sherry Gideons and Pamela Aubrey. So let's join them now in their current interview with a high-vibing individual.
Hello and welcome to the High Vibe Nation, a revolution of love. It's time to rise and live your best life now. I'm your host, Sherry Gideons, and my co-host is Pamela Aubrey.
Welcome, everyone, and welcome to our very special guest, Johanna Godinez, who is the founder of Beyond Asana Yoga Lifestyle. She stepped on the mat for the first time more than 15 years ago when she found herself at a crossroads in which yoga illuminated the path. Her purpose now is to share the ancient knowledge and philosophy that has been around for thousands of years as a way to ignite in others self-exploration and enlightenment. So welcome to the show, Johanna. Such a joy to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with you, ladies. It's been amazing to get to know you and connect with you.
You too. So wonderful to have you. So as you know, on this show, we love to talk about being high vibe. So tell us what it means to you to be high vibe.
It means that you understand that no matter what happens, it is up to you to create the joy that you want to live in. And as long as you can keep that, you can literally exude that. And that vibration is something that comes from every cell in your body. And it's what helps raise the vibration of people around you, because it's contagious when you have a high vibe.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful. So let's delve right into this topic. So many of us have heard about yoga. And so what does yoga actually mean? What's the philosophy of it?
So yoga is an ancient art and science that beautifully combines your mind, your body, and your spirit. That's the easiest way to describe it. And the most beautiful thing about the practice is that anybody in this world can apply this philosophy into their lives, whether they practice yoga physically or they don't, because yoga is a philosophy that's meant to teach you how to understand humanity and how to understand how to live this human experience in a way that you're a good human to others and to yourself, really. So it's yoga points to you. It's truly a path where you treat others like you want to be treated, and you believe in karma and action, and it's a beautiful, beautiful way to incorporate a lifestyle.
I love it.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about how your journey with yoga began.
Oh, man. So I owned a business in 2005. It was a racing school. So I was a race car driver when I was younger.
Wow.
It was my passion, and I was going to be Danica Patrick before Danica Patrick was Danica Patrick. And I had everything ready to go. And then in 2008, the recession hit. And I had just finished my MBA. And so, like, when my sponsorship didn't happen, I had a Drive for Diversity program that I was going to be a part with, and that fell apart. And I was at a place in my life where, like, I couldn't go back to my business because nobody was spending $5,000 to drive their $100,000 car around a track. Yeah. Like, it just wasn't happening. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find a sponsor. So I was at a place where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And at that point, I had tried yoga a couple of times, but just I was in gymnastics and dance as a kid. So more as like, oh, it's a stretchy, it's a thing, and that's it. So through that process, I went through a bit of a depression. And by going to a psychologist, she basically wanted to put me on drugs. And I was like, no. I was like, there has to be something else that I can do. And I still went to the psychologist that she suggested. And I asked them, I was like, there has to be a natural way for me to get whatever you're trying to give me, because what you're giving me isn't taking me out of my situation. So you masking my symptoms will never be able for me to actually fix my issue. So I was like, there has to be something that I can do. And he said, go work out. And although I had been active all my life, I had never gone to the gym. So I found this place in South Carolina called the Hilton Head Health Institute. And I went there for 2 weeks, and that's where I fell in love with everything fitness, and I knew what my next path in life would be. And that's when I started wellness coaching, and I developed business programs for businesses to incorporate wellness for their employees. And that's where my next business started from there. And then yoga became a huge part of my life, of course.
I love it.
Wow.
So what is the actual goal of yoga? Because you hear about so many different types of yoga. What is the actual goal?
Okay, so I'm gonna start at so in my business, I always say you start with the big goal and then you work your way backwards. Okay, so we're gonna start with the big goal.
All right.
Karma yoga is the mother of yoga. So no matter what you do in life, sharing it with others and helping others is the mother of all yoga, and you never have to do physical practice. So that's karma yoga, and that's action. And that's the action that you do. It's not what you expect back or what you do and you get back. It's just what you do to create your good action. That's karma. But then in order to become that person, you need to gain the ability to do that. So to gain the ability to do that, you need to figure out, who am I and what do I want to share with the world? What do I want to give? What do I want to leave behind? What's my legacy? What's my gift that I'm here to share? And that's really where yoga comes in, because yoga gives you the tools for you to begin to reflect on how to figure out what person you are, what your gifts are, and what you're here to do. And yeah.
That's really powerful. So what are some of those things that, if someone were to start thinking about, starting yoga or starting a yoga practice, or, what are some of the things that you would say would be important for them to have in mind first?
So first you need to choose what path of yoga you would like to choose. Like, are you wanting to incorporate a physical practice? Like, do you want to go through and start incorporating your body? Or are you just looking to incorporate the teachings, right? Because that's two things. So to incorporate yoga, to incorporate anything, it starts with the 8 limbs. And the 8 limbs are the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is an ancient book that was written 2,500 years ago, before Christ was around. And it's a book that basically gives you the roadmap to yoga. And in it, there's something called the 8 limbs of yoga. And the 8 limbs, the first 4 are how you become a good human. The last 4 is how you reach enlightenment. And those are the 8 limbs. So no matter what path of yoga, you should understand what those limbs are. But when you're incorporating a physical practice of yoga, within those 4 limbs that are at the beginning, you have the yamas and the niyamas, which is, how am I going to behave towards myself and how am I going to behave towards others? And then asana and pranayama, which is your physical practice of yoga and your breath. Then from there comes the higher practices, which are withdrawal of the senses, which is what's needed for you to start to come in towards the inside. And then there's concentration, which can be done externally or internally. Externally would be like, for example, if you do like a candle gazing meditation and you're watching the candle and you're just until you just lose yourself in the candle, right? But it can also be your breath, just concentrating on your breath. And then from there, you go into full-blown meditation. And in meditation, you're no longer connected to your senses. Like, you're lost in the space that's inside of you, which is made of the space that's outside of you. And you start to merge what's outside and you start to lose the physical boundaries. And then you reach samadhi. And in samadhi, that's when you no longer see yourself as a unique thing in this experience. You realize that you are a part of everything, as so is everybody else. And you can't have this experience without everything else being the way it is and where it is, because otherwise your experience wouldn't be yours. So that's when like peace of mind comes. And samadhi is nothing more than you just going like that moment. But staying in that moment. That's samadhi. And it's not walking around like you're some enlightened person, like you can still have a bad mood and you can still have a bad day, and you actually get more emotional because you start to understand that holding in your emotions isn't good. So if someone tells you something and you think it's beautiful and it makes you cry, you just cry, you just let it out, and then a second later you're over it. You cried and it's out, and it's no longer something you have to hold on to. It's just an experience you had, and you can just enjoy the feeling for what it is, whether it's good or bad, without judgment.
So it's a lot of just kind of allowing yourself to be, it
Yeah.
sounds like.
It's being in the moment. You know,
Yeah.
yoga at one point, when yoga first started, the withdrawal of the senses was a big thing. So like going into the mountains and completely being connected to nature was a huge thing. However, the way that we have created this humanity society that we are living in at the moment, it's really hard for someone to truly be able to operate with that complete isolation, just because of the way we've created society. So yoga has shifted into, you don't find peace by disconnecting from humanity and connecting to everything else. You find peace by being able to connect to everything else while still being connected to humanity, which is even harder, by the way, because it's easy to ignore the problems of humanity if you're just in the middle of a forest somewhere. Of course, everything's beautiful and there's no problem if you're just at a river, just finding food and all happy. But it gets tough when you're watching the things you're watching right now, and you still need to keep your center and understand that all of this has a bigger purpose, and that somehow, if you want to make a change, all of that happening out there isn't how you do it. You do it right here. What can I do right now within me that's going to make this whole situation better? And that's why I created this yoga program in a way where if someone wants to just take it and learn more about yoga and not be a teacher, you just take the first part of the program. You pay a less amount of money and you incorporate the teachings, and you don't have to create the sequences and do all that. But if you want to be a teacher, the last 2 weeks will teach you everything from how to put the sequences together to the ethics of yoga and the business, because that's obviously a part that if you want to be a teacher, you need to know. But right now, people need the teachings, the philosophy. And no one out there has a program where you can just learn the philosophy. And for example, we teach you about the chakras in how you can look at where you are imbalanced. So for example, right now, a lot of people are feeling insecure, which is root chakra stuff, right? Like that's where our security, that's our very animalistic, right? So
Physical
like fight or
world too,
flight.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's where this is really hitting people. So doing a lot of grounding in your yoga, like doing a lot of seated things, or if you're practicing physically, doing poses where a lot of your body's touching the ground. So I'm doing a lot of twisting where you have one hand down, one knee down, doing a lot of surrendering onto the floor. So pigeon poses like Sphinx, where you're opening your chest, but you're still grounding your belly and you're grounding. So all of those things that connect you deeper down to the earth are ways in which a human being can use yoga themselves. And that has nothing to do with you teaching. Now, if you're a teacher, it helps you connect with students at a different level, because you can help them understand poses at a different level. So it helps you at that level as well.
Wow. So do
yeah,
you
sorry,
have
I'm
to
just
be
spewing information. But
No, girl. You're like me. You're so passionate. The word is passionate about sharing so many beautiful, beautiful ways to do things, so we can align and we can feel more at peace and feel that sense of joy. I just wanted to take a moment to just acknowledge all of our guests. I love Patrick Carney is here.
He's
Yes.
my mentor.
Oh my God.
You know, if it wasn't for that man, I would not be sitting where I am today. So I just
love
major
him.
shout out, because he's my
Yes.
mentor, and he and I are working on a program together to start sharing this information with children. And he's been one of the biggest inspirations in my life, because whenever I have not believed in myself, that man has put his foot down and been like, dude, I believe in you. Lean on me for a second, catch your breath, keep moving. And wow, like he's the one that's, I get teary-eyed, because he's the one that's really
Well, I met him years ago at Secret Knock, many years ago now. And then I did a event with him and a woman by the name of Tia where we had his art.
Yes.
And oh my God. But I just adore him. I wanted to reach out and say hi. Thank you, Christy, for being here. And we have so many of your friends, Johanna. We've got Debbie and Kristen.
I got the East Coast in the house.
You do. Well, thank you all for being here. We're super happy.
Thank you.
Yes, share this out with your profile, please, everyone. We want to get this information out about Johanna. She's got so many amazing gifts that she wants to share with us today. So I wanted to ask, what's the difference? So listening to you as a teacher, what's the difference between a yogi and a guru?
Ooh, a guru knows the teachings and lives them 100%. A yogi may still be working on incorporating all the teachers and or all the teachings and understanding that it's a path. And it doesn't, and if you believe in reincarnation and then you believe in like higher states of yoga, a guru could be two things. It could be someone who's in their last lifetime and who's here and has gained all the teachings and is now unlocking them and opening and teaching them to others. Or it could be an avatar, and it can be someone who's here who's already fulfilled whatever soul quest they had to fill, but still feel the need to like come back and be like, no, man, humanity needs me, and I'm back. I want to come back. I often believe that I'm one of those. When Pat and I sit and talk, I know I was here in the 60s. Like no one had. I know all of the songs. And if you ask him, when he and I sit down and when we do our mentoring sessions, we color. He paints and I color. And we just talk and we'll record it so that no one has to be taking notes or anything like that. And we can just flow. And he'll put music on in the background and it's all 60s and 70s. And I know the words to all of them. And it just flows. So I know that I've been here before. I have no doubt in my mind. Who knows what happened to me? I know I died young because I've always felt connected to that. So yeah, but I know that if I'm back here, I'm here to do big things. So my whole life has always been dedicated to, I mean, my big one, like I said, I start up here, right? And then I move down. So my big one is I want to change the education system. And I have a plan. Like it starts with the books that Pat and I are writing. I wrote a book for adults. I'm writing children's books that are going to connect with like Harry Potter ages. I'm writing a curriculum that can be implemented into high schools. That's like a Humanity 101. And I don't know whoever's going to invest in any of this. One day I will meet the right person who will be like, I have the connections that you need. Thursday I have a phone call that might be that. But yeah, I'm changing the world and I'm bringing anyone who I can with me. I believe that when you put it out there. I love that. So I needed to make this website, right, for this school. So I was like, I can't do everything myself. So I went on Fiverr and I found some guy from Pakistan to do my website, right? And at the end, he's like, oh, you should hire us to do this and do that. And I'm like, listen, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot to invest in this. And he's like, I need to talk to you. And he got on the phone with me and he introduced me to his team of 4. And I now have a marketing team who's helping me. And I didn't even hire them. They're like, if you do well, we do well. And we're going to. So when you put it out there, it's just, just let it go. You know, so it's, I don't know, just amazing. I don't know why I even shared that, but I just felt like I had to.
So beautiful. Love that. Mm-hmm. Well, so what are the kind of fun things that, you know, you love about yoga that you just think other people should know about?
So on a personal level or a professional level? So on a personal level, I love that I can do a lot of things with my body, even though I'm told that I can't. So this is how much range of motion I have in my right arm. And like if I try to push, but if I pull it up, I can lift it. And I have found ways to make it happen. But if I naturally lift up my arms, that's it.
Wow.
So I was told that I would never do yoga again. And this was in 2017. And I don't know what the word no means. So I went Yeah, so I went to physical therapists and no one could help me. It's a really weird disease. It's called Parsonage-Turner syndrome. And what happens is your brachial plexus fries out and it kills some of your nerves. So all of the muscles that talk to the nerves, like some of my muscles on the side, on my chest, and my bicep, and my shoulders, they just don't work. They just...
Yeah, sure. Not getting the signal.
Right.
So exactly.
Right.
So I was told, never to lift my hands, no weight over my head. And I mean, for like 6 or 8 months, I listened, and inside it was killing me softly. And
Wow.
then one day I went to the neurologist, and I was like, listen, I was like, give it to me straight. What is the worst thing that can happen to me? He's like, well, you can dislocate your shoulder. I was like, listen, I've been working out for a long time. I will know if that's going to happen. I was like, what else? He's like, nothing. Damage is done. I was like, that's all I needed to hear. I can walk on my hands. Don't ask me how.
Wow.
But after 2 years, I trained my body and I can do it again. And I can't lift my hand, but I can do it again. So I'm a firm believer with the human mind. All the medicine and all the stuff that we're given to mask stuff, what it does is it kills our ability to do it ourselves, right?
Yep.
So, and the thing is, because doctors can't be knowledgeable about everything. Let's be honest. No one doctor can, because we always complain. Well, medical doctors don't know. I know Pat and I have known each other forever. Medical doctors, we always say that they don't know enough about like natural information, right? But give me one doctor that could learn about every single organ plus every single herb that could be connected to all of those organs. Like the amount of time that it would take for that person to understand all that information and apply the information, it would take them like 20 or 30 years of studying, which is why most doctors, they can't afford to spend that much time obtaining the information. Is it possible? Sure. If somebody out there puts it in and wants to unite all that knowledge, but most people focus, because it's just so much information.
Right.
So,
and it's not even part of their education anyway. I mean,
correct.
It's a whole nother subject, but
they would have to go out and decide, like, I'm going to become a medical doctor. I'm going to become an Ayurvedic doctor, and I'm going to become a natural doctor. So it would be 3 different completely, and probably a dietitian and probably a pharmaceutical, because then you would need to know about all the pharmaceuticals also. Like, it's just, it's possible. I'm not saying it's not. Definitely no limits there. However, it would take a very strong-willed person to decide to make that happen for themselves, of course, because they have to make that choice.
Yeah, I can relate so much with that, because I had a heart attack a week after delivering twins, and they came back and they said that I had 32% heart function and that I could die in 6 months without a heart transplant. And instead of connecting to the diagnosis of dis-ease in the body, I went into my imagination and I began to feel from the place that my heart was pumping perfectly. I mean, I could feel it pumping, and I could see all of the arteries flowing with, beautiful blood. And at first my doctor said, we need to look at this realistically. This is airy-fairy thinking. He said, you're very sick. And so, but the cool thing is fast forward 3 years later, he calls me in and he says, you're healed to 100%. And then he also said that he actually believed what I had said, but he said that just what you just said. He said that medical doctors are not trained. They're only trained to look at the symptom. They're not trained in all these other areas like you're talking about. And so it was so awesome when he said this to me. He says, you're the most amazing person I've ever met. And he says, and I'm so grateful that we were a patient and doctor. And so what you just said is so beautiful.
I have to connect you with my friend Liz. She wrote a book called Finding Hidden Courage. And I feel like you and her would connect so well, because she's all about that. And she's had similar stories. And I'm such a firm believer. It's just, we are given so our body knew how to build itself. What makes you think that it forgot? Like, what makes you think that somehow your body just, I made this baby, but, I don't know how to make it anymore. No, man, we lose our capability of memory because of our aging process, but our DNA has been creating babies forever. So our DNA didn't forget how to do it. We just need to tap into that part and refire those neurons, which are already there, but just learn to refire them in a way that you can ask your body, literally ask your body. Like you said, Cher, you were asking your body, you were watching it, make it happen for me, do it for me. And and people, and when you can't do that, then for example, so in this yoga program, the first thing that you have to do before you even unlock the program is you have to read Man's Search for Meaning. Woo. And write about it, right? Because part of what I want people to understand is how important it is for your mindset to be open. And if you can't change that situation, if no matter how much you try, your body just won't respond, so then you still have the control of your mind and how you react to it. So in the end, right, it's whether you choose to say, this is it for me, or whether you choose to say, it doesn't matter, I'm alive right now and I'm going to keep fighting till the day I die. And that's attitude of like, I'm going, does something to the body. And that book teaches that, right? So that's why I make sure that people read that book, because I believe that yoga should be something that transforms a person, and understanding how much control we give up and how much power we give up when we let other people affect our mood, affect our choices, affect how much we believe in ourselves, how much we're willing to fight. A lot of people have asked me how I've been able to live like such a crazy life. I mean, I've lived in other countries. I'm about to move again to another country. Like, to me, it's just, I go with the wind, I go with the flow. And the reason is because if you know that you can do that, then you can do that. If you think that you can't do that, then you probably can't do that. But if you think that you can, then somehow life just is like, oh, okay, well, this is going to make it happen either way. And it's just never letting somebody else's limit, like someone just say, no limitation. True. Don't ever let the fact that I said that it would be hard stop you from trying, because, or from attempting it. Papa Pat, I said the T word. He would get mad at me. But from attempting it, right? So it's
Well, by the way, I met Alex, who is the grandson of Viktor Frankl. I met his grandson, Alex. How cool from Bob Donnell. Wow. Oh my God. It was so awesome. I got a picture with him too. So it was cool.
That's one of my, I was asked to read that book for my second yoga teacher training that I took. So I've done 200 hours, and I've done a yoga fit one and a rocket one, and I've done 100 hours here and 20 hours there. But reading that book, it did something. So, in that teacher training, that is the biggest thing that I took. That and how not to be a yoga teacher. But that was still a very valuable lesson, right? So it's important.
That's so beautiful. I love that, because I actually just spent a bunch of time traveling, and I think everyone was like, what's with the nomad life? And I was like, hey, I'm loving it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back now.
I always said I would never get married because I can't stop living life like that. And then I met someone in Peru that lives exactly the same way I do, and who's like, oh, but wouldn't it be more fun if we did it together? And I was like, sure. So that was that.
Yeah, I love it. Well, so I know that there's, we've touched on a couple of the different types of yoga. I know there's a lot of different types. So can you just kind of briefly explain some of those and how they're different, and, what different ones offer?
So again, because yoga means unity, anything that can put you in a space of being in the present moment with your mind, your body, and your spirit is yoga. So for example, when I'm creating this program, my focus is so deep that nothing else matters. Time is going by, day becomes night, and it's not a chore. It's just knowledge is flowing. That is yoga. When you're taking a walk on the beach and you sit down and you're just watching the unchanging you, is watching the changing waves or the changing sky or the sway of the trees. That is yoga. If you are a very devoted person, when you are in prayer and you are in that intention where everything in you, every ounce of energy, you're just pouring into what you are asking for the universe, and you are willing to give whatever it takes in return. That is yoga. It can be manifested in so many different ways. You know, it's when you dance around a fire to the full moon and you get lost in the movement of your body without caring in 1 second that anyone's watching, because you know that it doesn't matter. You're dancing for the universe, not for another person. And it's
nice.
It's just when you connect to anything. It can be anything that you're passionate about. So Papa Pat does yoga when he's painting. When he's painting, he puts his essence. He takes somebody's essence and he takes it in and he spews it out into his painting. That is yoga. I have a cycling teacher who is a preacher on the bike and who talks about climbing higher mountains and taking yourself to that higher level. And I always joke around. I'm like, Trip, you are a yoga teacher. You're just on a freaking bike. You're not on a yoga mat, but every inch and ounce of you is a yogi. You just don't know it because you don't understand what yoga is, but he's a yogi. Mother Teresa, she never did downward dog, and that woman was a yogi. Martin Luther King, he was a yogi. You know, people who, anyone who chooses to give of themselves in a way, and who spends any time connecting with that is yoga. And I've had people try to fight me on that. And then when I sit down with them and I break it down, so I always just, this one question always gets them: when is the happiest you have ever been and how much did it cost? And usually when people truly do this exercise, never. So I'm not going to say ever because I haven't asked that many people, but never has someone been like, oh, it was this thing that cost me $1 million. Because even if it did cost you $1 million, it wasn't the thing. It was the experience and how it made you feel. And it might have cost $1 million to get that experience, but the $1 million wasn't what gave you the experience. It was something else. So that's where I'm always like, if people just go, you know, their mind just gets blown. And that's another reason why people have a hard time manifesting. It's because you can't say, I want to manifest money.
Right.
What the heck is that? Money for what and how much and what do you want it for? Like, the world doesn't work like that. Like, if you want to manifest money to get something, then you say, I want to manifest this. So I say I'm an MBA by education, and I'm an MBA because I turn belief into action. It's to manifest. Because that, you know, awesome. Manifesting is just knowing where you want to get and being like, I'm all in. What do you got? I love it. And staying all in even when it gets edgy, because that's when the universe is like, let's see if you're really all in. Let me check you out and let me just poke at you a little and check, because if you back off, I'm out. If you're out, I'm out. And that's what, and I'll say it out loud, I don't care. So I went to Peru to do ayahuasca because I wanted to ask Mama Ayahuasca how you win the game of life. You see, in my ignorance, at the time, I'm a competitive person. Like I said, I used to race cars. So I'm like, life is a game. There's gotta be a way to win the game, right? So how do you win? Like, this is the Matrix. How do I figure it? So when I asked, this is what she said: silly girl, you don't win the game. This isn't something you can win or lose. You either have an impact or you're like an ant. You just walk and nobody even realizes. You're just a little ant just doing, not even making a difference underground. Nobody notices, doesn't affect. So the game is, what kind of legacy can you leave behind that will alter and shift the vibration of this experience? That is the meaning of life. What? Or human life, right? Not all life, but we are here with a gift. You were given a gift. You were given a gift. Everyone's given a gift. You were here with that gift to figure out what it is and figure out how are you going to make this world a better place through that gift. And it doesn't matter if you touch one person. I'm not saying that changing the world means that you need to go out and start a nonprofit and be worldwide. I'm saying you made an impact in one life. you change that one life, and that one life that changes now impacting another life, and that creates a ripple. So yes, impacting more people at once, yay, better, you know, of course.
Yay!
The bigger the reach, the bigger the impact. But it doesn't mean that you're going to think any less of yourself if you can only reach one person, because I've known plenty of people that have single-handedly fed a family or helped a family, and because of that, that family hasn't stolen or hasn't done something bad, right? And has been able to survive and create something for themselves and taken themselves to another level. So helping that one family changed something, and that's what we're here for. And yeah, of course,
that's so powerful. I feel that. I mean, I feel that. I think that speaks to a lot of people in the audience right now, especially just, you know, in the current moment, that it really does matter, even if it only matters for one person. Yes, it still matters.
Yes, and that's why, like, with all the ugly stuff people are posting for yesterday, I spent all day. Every positive one, I was like, I'm sharing this and I'm sharing that and a little of that, and I want more of this and I want more of that, because it was like a scared kid getting hugged, the cops kneeling down. Like, why are we showing all the bad? I have people who call themselves light healers, pouring more negativity out there. Why can't you be showing the things? I can't figure it out, man. Like, you're trying to raise someone's vibration. If you're trying to do that, then you need to be pointing out that there was a cop out there that got separated and got protected by a mob, that there was a bunch of black kids that saw a mob coming and stood by a target and created a rope and didn't let it happen, that there was a line of white women protecting a bunch of black people behind them because they did not want the cops to hit. This is what we need to be showing. It's how we are uniting. And again, it's one of those things, like, when people ask me, of course, when I fill out taxes and stuff, I say I'm Hispanic because I was born Puerto Rican. But when I was modeling and when I was acting, I would always say I'm ethnically ambiguous, because I'm just as much Spanish as I am Portuguese, as I am Asian, as I am from Africa. So why are you forcing me to relate myself to one of the parts of me? Like, why am I not able to tell you that I'm probably one of the most mixed people that you've ever met? Because I don't have more than 10% of anything. Nothing. Not one thing. So I can't tell you what I am. And I'm happy with that.
It's so funny that you say that, girl, because literally this year I had a dream in December at the beginning of the year, and 4 words were given to me. And that was expand, trust, impact, and multiply. And everything you just said, sister, is in alignment with those words that came through me in a dream in December. Beautiful. And I swear I'm choked up by what you just said, because everything you just said, I felt right in my heart.
Well, and and exactly along with that, it's like, if we could embrace all of ourselves, if all of us could embrace all of ourselves, then we can move into that expansion. It's the truth of who we are.
Yeah, and when it's not denying parts of yourself,
we can embrace each other.
Yes, and it's not denying parts of yourself. So this teacher from India that's leading this program with me, like, one of the things that he's really well known for in India is for shadow work. So he goes into your fear, right? So he makes you write your will, your own will, and your own eulogy if your fear is death. He makes you meditate on spiders, if that, you know, whatever your fears are, like, he helps you. So one of the things about yoga is that the only way out is through. And I don't like to use the word only, but in this context, I didn't say it, right? I'm quoting something that somebody else said. Don't ask me who said it. I've heard it quoted before. I can't tell you who the source was. But what really hit me about that is that if you think about a lot of the issues that we have today, they stem by us not dealing with things, not pushing through and getting through them, by just being like, oh, I'm going to push it aside. Right. We're just going to take care of that later. And then that becomes exponentially something that you haven't dealt with. And Sherry, you mentioned something about disease earlier. That is what disease is. It's things that you have blocked in your body that you just haven't dealt with. It's trauma from your past, you know. It was awesome. It was freeing to let go of a lot of that for me. I had a lot of insecurity issues. Like I became an adult when I was like 8, 9 years old. So I always felt like I was out. No one could take care of me but me. So I've always gotten myself in really crazy situations and be like, but it doesn't matter because I take care of me, you know, which was horrible when I was a child, but it's how I learned. And then even as a teen, like I would act and do things that adults would do because I grew up that way. And it's one of those things that creates that disconnect, right? Mm-hmm. Between like what life is. But at the same time, then it gave me this vision of like, if I can create this now when I'm like 12, 13 years old, like what can I do when I'm an adult and no one's telling me what to do? So of course I left my house when I was 17 and I was like, oh, I need to start exploring, you know, because and it's that help, you know, most people, because they're so used to, I was told to do this, I was told to do that, I was told to do that. And yes, in school we get that, but at one point we can think for ourselves, but we're not told to, or we're not asked to, or we're not shown even how to explore that. So then we keep doing this and doing that and finding what else makes us. And at no point in time do we kind of disconnect from the matrix and realize like, is this really serving me? Do I really like this? Am I happy? Like, what kind of shit show did I create for myself? Like, can I reel it back in and redo this again? And, you know, that's just part of it. And it's part of the fun too, you know, but I definitely believe it's a disservice that we're not teaching our children how to use the lessons that we teach them. So we teach them math, but we don't teach them how to balance their checkbook or how to have a bank account or how to save money or how to invest or why you need to diversify your investments, right? There's my MBA coming out. We don't teach them that there's different learning styles. So if you're dyslexic, yeah, that's why you suck in math, man. You keep putting the numbers in the wrong direction, you know, like you're never going to be all that great in math. We just, we forget that. Yeah. And we forget that, like, we need to look at people for what they are and for what they have to offer, not for the box that we want to put them in. And again, that's where yoga opens you up to the fact that there's over 7 billion boxes in this planet. So, yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, one of my biggest supporters, Pat has been there since the beginning, and he's the one who's been pushing me to figure out how to share this on a bigger platform. So,
well, you're here, baby, on the High Vibe Nation.
It's amazing. And the people I've gotten to connect with, you know, because again, when you start putting that vibration out there, it's like a magnet, and other people in that same vibration, you just stumble upon them. It's incredible. It's just amazing.
Yeah, well, we got to thank Joe Ingram for connecting us, because
absolutely,
he said you were high vibe all the way, Johanna.
Yeah, he said the same thing about you guys. He's like, I connected you guys. You know, just hearing you guys talk, it's like, oh, you talk the same language. You'll be able to communicate well. I was like, yeah. If you're in that level, you just understand, you know, and it's and our goal is to get everyone curious about what that even means, because that's what it takes. Just get curious for 1 second. What does it mean to have a different vibration? And then get lost in it. Find Alan Watts, find Napoleon Hill, find Earl Nightingale, find Plato, find the sutras, find, you know, like the Tao Te Ching, you know, find like all these ancient teachings that you can put together to create the knowledge that you need to just take your life into your hands. Take it. Take a responsibility and know that things may not be all that great right now, but it's up to you how you react to that. And it's up to you whether you use that as your focus or you say, well, I got nothing to lose. What can I create?
Well, and I love that, you know, that idea of responsibility, but it really is, you know, taking ownership of what do you want your experience to be? What do you want to create? And then moving toward that. And then, you know, and what does that look like? What does that feel like? And helping people to have that experience. And I think, even though I'm relatively new to yoga, I think that's one of the things that's so powerful about it, is that it really helps you to do that in what is really a new way often for a lot of people if they've never really done it before, because you're suddenly having these experiences that you haven't had.
The day he asked me, so when I decided that I had a message that I needed to share, I asked Pat to give me a list of people that I should look into. And the first two people on that list were Les Brown and Bob Proctor. But of course, with Bob Proctor, I found Napoleon Hill, and I was so connected to him because of the way that he spoke and outwitting the devil about the education system, and the fact that I had just started a nonprofit with someone that basically every aspect that he mentioned are things that we addressed. And I just felt so connected to this man. And I was like, man, maybe I need to become a part of this. And I manifested meeting Don Green and meeting Satish Verna and meeting Greg Reed. And now I'm in Greg Reed's mastermind, speaking of Secret Knocks. So
he did the cover of my book. He endorsed the cover of my book.
That's so awesome. I joined him on Power of Proximity to use it as a platform to keep writing my own stuff to already be a best-selling author. So it worked out. Yeah. And, I just, and I want to say it's not just yoga, just as a person, if you feel like you're in like you're just not in alignment in your life, just explore that, man. Again, I'll mention that word again, get curious with that, because when you explore and you gain awareness. So my book that I wrote is called The Power of Being Human. And it takes you from the fact that anything that you ask yourself that makes you aware of something, if you take it through being aware, accepting the fact that now, shit, this is a new awakening that I have, and now I've shifted my thing, and then now I have to take action, and then getting the courage and making the commitment, and then getting curious with it and really finding a plan and finding the patience, and then just grinding through it and persevering through it, and then helping others by either sharing it or whatever. And it's like, if anyone in life, and that's yoga, right? But it's just put in a different way. But if anyone in life starts to get curious and starts to get into that path, the changes that you can create are amazing, because this is how you manifest. Okay. So I want something. I know exactly what I want. I know exactly when I want it. And I'm going to find the steps that I'm going to take to get there. And I'm going to put down what I am willing to give of myself in those steps, whether it's getting up. So let's say it's working out, right? I want to manifest this body. So what do I need to do to get this body? I need to change the way I eat. I need to get an exercise routine. And then you start, what's the easiest thing I can do today? Well, today I can do 20 push-ups and I can do 10 jumping jacks, and I can do that. So I can start today. And then maybe later tonight I can go grocery shopping, or tomorrow. So tomorrow I can start eating better. And then I'm going to incorporate that by writing down a schedule of when I'm going to work out and when I'm going to start eating, like when my meals are going to be and what they're going to be. And I'm going to download an app that's going to allow me a way to track it. And I'm going to give myself 20 minutes a day for 2 weeks. And then from there, I'm going to go up a little higher. And those 20 minutes can be anything. I just need to move. And then I'm going to find out, based on my goal, what I need to do. But I'm going to give those 2 weeks for me to just get my body moving while I figure out exactly what I need to do to educate myself to get the goals. See, I just laid out exactly how someone can incorporate that into their lives. And you can start with nothing today. And that's where people get lost. They think they don't have enough money. I just watched some random freaking thing on my phone that popped into my phone of some 12-year-old little millionaire girl who dropped out of school in 5th grade and moved her family to Bali because of the business that she started with $20 that she asked her dad for in 5th grade. So whoever doesn't believe, like, I love watching inspiring things like that. So when I waste my time, that's what I waste my time on, is inspiring myself through some way. And one of the important things is to know that it just takes you making a plan, which doesn't cost money. It takes you taking one action, doesn't cost money. Educating yourself doesn't cost money. Organizing yourself doesn't cost money. All of these things that I've done to put this training together, yeah, in the end, in the few years, I've ended up spending like $1,000 because in Yoga Alliance, in order to get it approved, I needed to spend money. But to actually put down my ideas, organize them, and really get the program going, I just needed to do it. That's it. I had the knowledge, I had the experience. I either did it or I didn't do it. And yes, it took a lot of sacrifice, right? Because it took all of that time and all of that effort. But now it's there and it's ready and it's ready to go. So it's one of those things where when COVID happened, I didn't have this opportunity. It just, I had to find something to do because I was going to launch this with the B.A.Y Club, and now the B.A.Y Club isn't going to launch it, but it's done and it's ready and it needs to be shared. So how am I going to share it? Well, this is how I'm going to share it, right? So it wasn't just putting it together. Now it's how do I integrate it and make it online? But again, that's because I'm passionate. It's because I found what my gift is, what makes it not seem like work for me. Right. So when you reflect enough on your experience and on what's made you happy, or even what's made you the saddest in the world, that you wouldn't want anyone else to ever feel that way. And how could you help someone not be there? Right. Because sometimes it's not the good things, it's the sad things that lead us to things. As I mentioned before, it was depression that led me to yoga. It wasn't that my life was wonderful. It was that my life had no purpose and that I was very lost in my life that led me to this other place, you know. And in the times of darkness, that's when the higher opportunity comes, because when you're riding a nice flowy wave, it's easy to stay on and just surf it away. It's hard to paddle back out, you know. So
So I want to ask you a question, moving back to yoga just for a second. So when it comes to doing the types of movements, all these different positions that you teach, are there certain positions along with breathing that activates more energy flow, that causes you to be more in connection with the self?
Absolutely. And again, that really depends on whatever chakra you feel most connected with. So, and if you have any medical conditions, definitely dependent. Pranayamas are very dependent on medical conditions. For example, there's pranayama exercises where you hold your breath. They're called kumbhaka or breath retention exercises. And someone who's got high blood pressure, low blood pressure, issues with their eyes, like they wouldn't want to do that kind of exercise. There's exercises where you're pushing the breath really bad. If you have any stomach ulcers or anything like that, that wouldn't be. So a simple level of pranayama is just counting your breath and extending it as much as you can. Yogis believe that we come here with a set amount of breaths. So the longer you extend your breath, the longer you extend your life. I don't say that I believe that, but I say that's one of the many philosophies, right? And I think the philosophy is beautiful. Like, I take it for what it is. You know, it's just like the Bible, like being inspired by someone dying for mankind and then coming back to bless everyone. That's freaking beautiful, whether you believe in that religion or not. And I see the beauty in all religions, and I see that all religions say exactly the same thing, just in a different way. So
it's all about love. Love is the key.
So the other day, I posted actually in the group Rise Up about what people think when I say the word yoga. And somebody wrote me personally that I needed to find God. And I was like, what in the teachings of Jesus am I going against by wanting to love myself and sharing good with others? And there's just nothing that he could say, because if you describe what a yogi lives by, Jesus was a yogi. Jesus was a Reiki master who could heal people with his energy. I mean, you got no better yogi than Jesus Christ. I mean, I can't.
Good.
I mean, let's say it for what it is. Even if you can't connect it in those terms, right? Even if you can't think of it like, oh, Reiki. Okay, but he healed people with his hands. So the name of that is Reiki. So whether you know what it is or not, that's what he did. You know, So it's yeah, it's beautiful when you can just, that's yoga teaches you to be inclusive, because you're only held back by your ignorance. And by ignorance, I don't mean in a derogatory way. I just mean by what you don't know. You're held back by your preconceptions, your judgments, and by what you don't know. So when I judge you, I'm just judging the fact that you're lacking knowledge. That makes me just as ignorant. Because if I truly wanted to do you a service, then I would enlighten you, which is what we do here. It's just sharing these little bits and pieces so that people can expand their consciousness and maybe, again, get curious about maybe there's more to this life than what we can see. And again, that's where change just gets sparked and miracles can happen.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yay. I love talking about all this. This is like, I'm airy fairy when it comes to this stuff.
Girl, you know what? That's what I've been called for 23 years since I awakened in the 90s. I was like, everybody'd say, Sherry's woo-woo and Sherry's airy fairy. And, fast forward 23 years later, one of the things I love the most about myself is my airy fairy Sherry.
Yeah, I embraced it. At first, I was like, man, I'm a tough cookie. I'm like, don't you dare call me airy fairy. But now I'm like, yes, I am a fairy, and I'm a princess, and I'm a unicorn, and I'm definitely a mermaid. So all of the above.
There you go. Well, and I think, it's like when you remember back to, just being a child, it can be that simple. Those moments that you had as a child where you had realizations of things that came through your intuition, those are such easy ways for us to kind of remember what that is like, what it really means to be in touch with our souls in that way again, and to help ourselves revisit that, because we all kind of know, we remember in some ways, even though we haven't been a child for however many years, what it was like. And so to me, I remember I remember asking for help to find a lost mitten and being told exactly where it was. Those are the things that reconnect us, that remind us. So it doesn't have to be complicated either. It can be something that simple.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's one of those things that anything in life that you can connect with that makes you happy, you should embrace it. And sometimes there's taboos around the things that we really enjoy. And hatha yoga, or the physical practice of yoga, when you look at the roots of it, it comes from Tantra yoga. And now Tantra yoga nowadays is only viewed as like sexual whatever, but that's not what Tantra yoga is about. The Tantrikas were revolutionaries because at that time in history, we were all bowing down to gurus and looking up to gurus. And the Tantrikas were the ones that revolutionized that thought, or that train of mind. And what they did was they said that the way through the divine is through our experience. It isn't through attempting to just learn from somebody else's experience or applying the lessons that somebody else has left for us. It's living the experience of those things. So that's why we focus so much on teaching you different things about different areas, because there were things that Alan Watts taught me that made some of the sutras of Patanjali make more sense, and they are over 2,000 years apart. So it's the open-mindedness of being able to see that there are teachings that however you learn and however you incorporate things and however things resonate with you, as long as you understand that the only way that you will be able to truly do something bigger than yourself is to first work with yourself. And that takes accepting things that you may not like about yourself, or you may think aren't great about yourself. And it may be because society believes that way. If you're not hurting anyone, and if you're not hurting yourself, exploration is why we're here. And I believe that, for example, so my parents, I think my father especially, because my mom was the chemist and my dad was the adventure business owner, but my father never said to me that any of my ideas were out of reach. So when I wanted to start selling candy when I was in 4th grade, he took me to like the wholesale place and we chose candy, and then he explained to me, now you're going to make a list and put the prices on it, and you're going to see how many you need to sell to pay me back the money that I'm investing in you. And then you're going to figure out, keep tallies of who's buying what candy so that you know what's running out and what people like and what they don't like. And then if people ask you for other candies that you don't have, make a list so that you know next time we go to the store what people want. Okay? So 4th grade. Then when I turned 15, there's a quinceañera. There were a bunch of other adventures in between, but when I went to turn 15, a quinceañera is like the sweet 16. It's usually this big production where you wear this dress and there's a ceremony where your dad takes your shoes from a flat to high heel, and it symbolizes you becoming a woman and all of this stuff. I've never been the traditional kind of girl. So usually the dress alone for a quinceañera is like over $1,000. My dad gave me $500 and said, if you want to plan your birthday party, have fun with that. And I said, okay. I was 14. No internet back then, by the way, guys. I'm aging myself. No internet back then. Okay. So I sat down.
Had to be resourceful.
Yeah. I sat down with the phone book in front of me, and I called clubs, 14, and to see if they had private rooms that didn't serve alcohol, that they would be willing to come in, that had an entrance or had something that would be willing to do it. Found a place. But it would cost me as much money as I had. But I wanted dancers and I wanted singers. So I called a production company. And I told the production company that I had this deal. Now I'm 14, that I had this deal with this club and that I could get his people in the club. And I don't know exactly what I did to make it happen, but I had people who had CDs out at the time performing with dancers. And I was in the VIP area with all those people, with all my friends at the club,
So
and
fun.
somehow they closed the alcohol part of it. And
oh my gosh,
at the end, my dad was like, "I can't believe you pulled this off." I was like, "Yeah, you gave me $500, telling you, you know." And it's
so
like when your parents allow that creativity, you know, parents too quickly when their kids want something, they say no. And the thing is, that's what makes them stop thinking about stuff like that. Like, and we can't. We need to foster the creativity because that's how we figure out what our kids are like. I mean, I remember teaching autistic kids, and autism is hard because those kids can't speak to you. So they can't tell you what's wrong with them, even when they're 5. Right? So I'm teaching this kid for 2 years, right? The kid has never looked at me in the eyes and he sways side to side, but he doesn't move. One day he walks in and stares at me like right in the eye. And I'm like, oh my God, Jimmy, what's going on, right? And I put the music on, and Jimmy had learned every single step to every single thing that I was doing. So in 2 years, we figured out that the reason why Jimmy doesn't do things is because unless he knows 100% that he's going to get it right, he doesn't do it. What?
Wow.
So through dancing with the kid, you just learned how his brain operates.
Yes.
What? And these are the things that when you pay attention to what the kid is telling you, what their likes are, what they're upset about, you can start actually learning what this human being is going to be like, what their DNA is saying, what their mental abilities are saying. Because yes, we can develop ourselves, but we learn a certain way and we have certain personalities, and we can't change that. We can only manage that and learn to operate within that. But unless we are taught that there's nothing wrong with having these things, even if they're not similar to other people.
Right.
And we're taught, for example, that if you make a song, you remember it better. Some people think that way. Some people are learners based on music. they're the ones that will pick up 7 instruments in 2 years and will play all of them.
Yeah.
And if you teach them and make songs out of the lessons, they'll learn all of them in the song format.
I love it. Well, gosh, it's been over an hour, and I mean, we could like freaking go on. I mean, this has been so fun, Johanna. I am so grateful. I mean, Pam and I are so blessed to have had you on the show today. It's just been, I mean, so inspiring and uplifting. I mean, I've felt this high vibe through the entire hour.
I love it.
My gosh. Wow. So share with our audience real quick, girl. I mean, we want to know how to get a hold of you, how to hear more about your program. I'm going to post it up here on the screen.
So beyondasanayoga.com, and you can always just PM me on Facebook and we can contact there, or you can call me 815-501-5070. I always give my number out. And if you ever just need someone to talk to, I'm also Mastermind Alliance certified. So if you were to have an idea and be like, all right, Johanna, you're talking all this smack about if you have ideas, let's put them in motion. Help me. I'll help you. Awesome. So dare me. I'm always up for a good challenge. But yeah, any way I can help your audience, you know, anyone that wants to connect, it would be an honor.
Wow. Well,
amazing.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you on the show today. I want to thank all of our listeners, our audience. Thank you, every one of you, for being here. We've just adored this gathering with Johanna today. Thank you, Patrick and Christy and Kristen and all the people that have joined us here today. Yes, please share this out with your listeners and your own profiles. We thank you for that. You can reach us at thehighvibenation.com if you'd like to be a guest on our show. We are on Mondays and Wednesday evenings at 5:00. And we want to thank you again so much for being here on the show with us today. And tell what are we at? Monday evening already? I can't even believe the week's gone by from last week and we're already on Monday. But thank you again, and we'll see you on Wednesday evening at 5:00 here on the High Vibe Nation.
Thanks for having me.
From everybody here at the High Vibe Nation, we want to say thank you for choosing to raise your vibration. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe. If you need to find us on the web, check us out at www.thehighvibenation.com. Looking forward to seeing you on the next episode, and keep high vibing.